News. The global shadow war is intensifying from Moscow to Dubai, from Kiev to Tehran, and from Tel Aviv to the entire West Asia. In the latest sign of a rising covert conflict, Russia says that it has arrested and extradited a key suspect in the shooting of one of its top military intelligence officers. The arrest comes amid a series of targeted attacks, assassinations, and counterintelligence operations, all pointing to a widening spy war linked to the Ukraine conflict and West Asia tensions. Let's break it down for you. Russia's Federal Security Service, the FSB, says that the main suspect in the shooting of the Lieutenant General Vladimir Alexeyev has now been taken into custody. The suspect, Lyubomir Korba, was arrested in Dubai just hours after the attack, and he was extradited back to Russia with the help of the authorities in UAE. According to Russian investigators, Korba ambushed the deputy chief of Russia's military intelligence agency in the stairwell of his apartment building in Moscow. He allegedly fired 3 shots at close range, hitting the general in the arm, the leg, and the chest. Alexeyev survived the attack and remains under medical care after undergoing surgery. But Russian authorities say that the weapon that was used was a silenced Makarov pistol, which was recovered from the scene. They claim forensic tests are now underway. Moscow has directly blamed Ukraine for this attack. Russian officials say that Korba was acting on the instructions from Ukrainian intel services. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has described this shooting as a terrorist act that was aimed at disrupting peace efforts. This incident happened just a day after talks involving Russia, Ukraine, and the US concluded in Abu Dhabi, ending with a prisoner exchange, but no clear breakthrough. Ukraine, however, has denied any involvement. Kiev says that the shooting may be an internal Russian matter. Investigators say that Korba did not act alone. A male accomplice has been arrested in Moscow. A female suspect is believed to have fled to Ukraine. Russian agencies say they are now hunting for the masterminds behind this attack. State television has aired footage showing Korba being escorted off a plane by security agents under tight security guard. President Vladimir Putin has publicly thanked the UAE leadership for assisting in this arrest. But remember, this attack is not an isolated incident. It is part of a growing pattern. Over the past 2 years, several senior Russian military officers have been killed or targeted near Moscow. In December, Lieutenant General Vladimir Savarov was killed in a car bombing. Earlier, Lieutenant General Yaroslav Moskalik died in a similar attack. In 2024, General Igor Kirillov was killed in an explosion outside his apartment. Now, some of these attacks were later claimed by Ukrainian intelligence, but others remain disputed. Together, they point to a systematic campaign targeting Russia's military leadership. At the same time, Moscow is believed to have carried out covert operations inside Ukraine as well. Kiev says that Russian agents have targeted Ukrainian commanders and intelligence officers. President Volodymyr Zelensky himself has allegedly survived multiple assassination plots. Former intelligence chief Kirillov Budanov has also said that he was targeted. This is no longer just a conventional war. It is a shadow war being fought in the streets, the stairwells, and safe houses. And this covert conflict is not limited to Eastern Europe. In Iran, authorities say they have neutralized a Mossad-linked terror cell in Tehran. Iranian media reports that the ringleader, Sadiq Ashtari, was trained by Israeli intelligence in Iraqi Kurdistan. He's accused of leading attacks on security targets in the Iranian capital. Tehran says the cell was dismantled and weapons were seized. Israel has not commented on these claims so far. But this fits into a long-running intelligence battle between Iran and Israel involving cyber attacks, assassinations, and sabotage. So what we are witnessing is a globalization of covert warfare from Moscow to Tehran, from Kiev to Tel Aviv. Intelligence agencies are increasingly using targeted killings and proxy networks to weaken their rivals without triggering full-scale wars. But the strategy comes with serious risks. Each attack raises the chances of retaliation. Each retaliation pushes conflicts closer to open confrontation. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Russia says that its forces have captured more villages in northeastern Ukraine. Moscow believes that military pressure will strengthen its position in future peace talks. But the core dispute over occupied territory remains unresolved. President Donald Trump has now given both sides a June deadline to end the war. Whether diplomacy can succeed while assassinations continue remains highly uncertain. But the message is clear. Until the war ends, the shadow war will continue in the dark. Moving to the United States now, where the latest tranche of documents released by the U.S. Department of Justice is shedding new light on disturbing allegations surrounding the late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Among the millions of records made public is a diary entry attributed to a teenage girl who claimed that Epstein fathered her child in 2002 when she was 16 or 17 years old. According to this diary, Ghislaine Maxwell, the longtime associate of Epstein, was present at the birth. The entry alleges that the newborn baby was taken from the girl approximately 10 minutes after delivery. The account adds to previously reported claims about Epstein's stated desire to father large numbers of children. In 2019, The Guardian reported that Epstein had discussed plans to impregnate multiple women at the same time and had expressed interest in using genetic engineering and artificial intelligence to create what he described as a super race. According to the New York Times, Epstein told scientists and business associates that his Zorro Ranch, which is nearly 10,000-acre property in New Mexico, was intended to serve as the base for these plans. The ranch, which is located outside Santa Fe, includes a large mansion, a private runway and hangar, and extensive surrounding land. Multiple survivors have testified in court that Epstein sexually abused teenage girls and young women at the ranch over a period of years. While authorities searched several of Epstein's other properties, including homes in New York, Florida, Paris, and the Caribbean, state and local officials have said they are not aware of any federal search being conducted at the New Mexico ranch. In a parallel development, meanwhile, Indian-American guru and wellness author Deepak Chopra was as effusive in his praise for Israel as he was enthusiastic for Jeffrey Epstein to join him in Tel Aviv. He said that Epstein was invited by Israel but did not accept the invitation because he told him that he did not like Israel. 2 years before his arrest in 2019, Epstein had been invited to meet with Deepak Chopra while he was in the country for a speaking engagement at the Menorah Hall. Why Epstein declined that invitation in March 2017 is one of the unanswered questions emerging from the latest documents that were released by the DOJ. The files present a contradictory and often unclear picture of Epstein's relationship with Israel and with his senior Israeli figures, including former Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Those questions have fed into broader claims promoted by some commentators in Washington. They claim that Epstein may have had links to a foreign intelligence service. According to the newly released material, a confidential informant told the FBI that Epstein was not hostile to Israel and was in fact believed to be working on its behalf. The FBI report from the Los Angeles field office dated October 2020 states that the source had become convinced that Epstein was co-opted Mossad agent. U.S. authorities have not publicly substantiated that claim, and no charges or findings have been made to support it thus far. Well, shifting our focus now, Hong Kong's most prominent pro-democracy figure, media tycoon Jimmy Lai, has been sentenced to 20 years in prison, a punishment that critics say marks the death of press freedom in the city. And it could mean that the 78-year-old will die behind bars. Lai, remember, who's the founder of the now-shuttered Apple Daily newspaper, was convicted of sedition and conspiracy to collude with foreign forces. Charges brought under Hong Kong's national security law, a law that was imposed by Beijing back in 2020 after massive pro-democracy protests. The court described Jimmy Lai as the mastermind behind efforts to lobby foreign governments against China. Judges said his actions endangered national security and warranted a severe punishment. Despite granting limited sentence reductions on health grounds, the court has now imposed the harshest penalty yet in a national security case. Lai's family has condemned this ruling, with his daughter Claire calling it heartbreakingly cruel and his son Sebastian describing it as draconian and devastating. They say Lai's health is deteriorating rapidly and more than 4 years in detention, much of it in solitary confinement. Internationally, human rights and press freedom groups have also reacted with outrage. Reporters Without Borders said the curtain has fallen on press freedom in Hong Kong. Human Rights Watch called the sentence effectively a death sentence. Amnesty International described the case as another grim milestone in the city's transformation into a place ruled by fear. Western governments have spoken out as well. Britain's Foreign Secretary said for a 78-year-old man, this is tantamount to a life sentence. Washington has reviewed calls for Lai's release. Donald Trump has said he wants to secure Lai's freedom, and lawmakers say that the case now stands at the center of U.S.-China relations. But Beijing and Hong Kong authorities have defended this ruling. Chief Executive John Lee called the sentence deeply gratifying. Meanwhile, for all the criticism from the West, China's foreign ministry has described the court ruling as legitimate and reasonable. In fact, police officials even said that Lai's health concerns have been exaggerated. Jimmy Lai founded Apple Daily in 1990s. The paper became a powerful voice for democracy and free speech. During the mass protests of 2019, it openly challenged Beijing's authority. And after the strict security law was imposed, Lai was arrested. Apple Daily was forced to shut down. In 2021, as a result, hundreds of journalists lost their jobs. Independent media outlets began disappearing. Now, critics say that Lai's conviction symbolizes Hong Kong's political transformation, from a semi-autonomous global financial hub to a city tightly controlled by Beijing. Opposition parties have dissolved, activists have fled abroad, and dozens remain behind bars. To critics of Beijing, Jimmy Lai's fate has become his warning that dissent in Hong Kong carries a very heavy price.